Hey, welcome back. If you're new here, stick around, because today we're going deep into some of the darkest corners of human experience. We're talking about cults. And before you think, oh, I'd never fall for that, just wait, because some of the most educated, intelligent people in the world have been pulled in, slowly, quietly, before they even realized what was happening. Once a cult sinks its claws into you, getting out is nearly impossible. And for those who were born into one, it's a whole different kind of nightmare. But today we're talking about the ones who made it out. These are 5 real people who escaped fanatical cults and somehow found their way back. Let's get into it. So you've probably heard the phrase, God is love. Pretty standard Christian belief, right? Well, one man took that idea and twisted it into something truly sick. His name was David Berg. And in the late 1960s, he founded a group called the Children of God, built around the idea that sex was a form of godly service. No limits, no boundaries, didn't matter how old you were. By the 1970s, this thing had exploded, 10,000 full-time members spread across 130 communities worldwide. You might even recognize some names from their membership. Rose McGowan, Joaquin Phoenix, both of them got out. But this story isn't about them. This story is about Faith Jones, David Berg's own granddaughter. From childhood, Faith was raised to believe that the sexualization of children was completely normal. At just 12 years old, she was already living inside this warped reality. Women were assigned to male partners like it was a chore rotation. Refuse, and you'd be publicly humiliated in front of the entire congregation by her own grandfather, the man they called Father David or King Moses. And it got darker. Women weren't allowed to hold jobs. Their only way to make money, selling themselves to outsiders. And this wasn't frowned upon, it was encouraged by leadership. Faith quietly fell into depression, watching the years slip by inside this prison dressed up as a church. Then in 1999, at 22 years old, she made her move. She applied for a university scholarship in America while the group was based in Macau, got accepted, and never went back. Her family begged. She didn't budge. She went on to become an attorney and later wrote a book called Sex Cult Nun, where she laid everything bare. She said sexual abuse isn't just a cult problem. It lives in society too. And the first step to freedom? Realizing that nobody owns you. Not even the people who call themselves your family. A father is supposed to be your safe place, your foundation, the one person in the world you can always count on. For Rachel Jeffs, that belief shattered in the most horrifying way imaginable. Her father was Warren Jeffs, self-appointed prophet of the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the FLDS, an extremist offshoot of the Mormon Church, based in Hilldale, Utah, with over 10,000 followers both inside and outside the U.S. And even after Jeffs was convicted and imprisoned in 2011 on child sexual assault charges, the cult kept growing. Reports say Jeffs had 78 so-called wives. The youngest was 12. But here's where it gets even more disturbing. Rachel was one of his victims. Her own father began sexually abusing her when she was just 8 years old. It happened so many times she eventually stopped counting. She stayed silent, out of fear, out of that trained sense of respect they hammered into these kids from birth. When she was 10, she finally told her mother. Her mom, one of Jeff's many wives, actually confronted him, and he just didn't care. The abuse continued. Rachel was later forced to marry a 25-year-old church member when she turned 18. Then she found herself in a new nightmare, being physically and emotionally abused by her husband's other wives. She endured it for 12 years. In 2015, at 30, she finally ran, taking her 5 children with her. But the cult took those kids away. She was thrown into isolation, alone, with nothing. Thankfully, She found refuge with a family of former FLDS members who understood exactly what she'd been through. She later published a memoir detailing every horror. And today, she runs a blog with one single mission: telling other survivors that the fear they feel is not bigger than their freedom. Here's the thing about cults that people don't realize: they don't always look like cults. They don't always have robes and chanting and weird rituals. Sometimes they look like a self-improvement seminar. Polished, professional, totally legit. That's exactly how Carly McConkie got pulled in. It was 1996. She was 21, fresh out of university, attending the Mind Body Spirit Festival in Sydney, Australia. She was ambitious. She wanted to grow. And then she walked past a booth for something called Life Integration Programs, LIP. Free introductory course. What's the harm, right? The course changed her outlook on life. She was hooked. And slowly, she enrolled in one program after another, 17 courses in total, each one more expensive than the last. She and her husband eventually burned through nearly $50,000. She even paid $10,000 out of pocket to send the cult leader, a woman named Natasha Lakiev, on a ski trip. A ski trip. She couldn't hold a job because she was doing unpaid work for the organization full-time. Lakiev, who she worked for as a personal assistant, would physically lash out when things didn't go her way. Carly's family relationships crumbled. Her marriage fell apart. She was malnourished, sleep-deprived, and broke. 13 years passed like that. Finally, in 2009, she walked away. Her parents, her ex-husband, they welcomed her back with open arms. She wrote a book about it. She rebuilt her life. And now, as a mother of 3, she's living proof that real growth, it doesn't come with a price tag. Some of these stories involve adults being slowly manipulated. But Jimmy Anderson's story starts when he's 2 years old. That's when his family joined Word of Faith Fellowship, a hardcore fundamentalist evangelical church in western North Carolina, founded in 1979 by a former teacher named Jane Whaley. Nearly 800 local members, with hundreds more in Brazil and Ghana. And from his very first memories, Jimmy knew something was deeply wrong. At 6 years old, he was already being beaten, not just by his parents, but by multiple adult church members. At 9, a woman spanked him so violently across his entire body that his own mother had to physically hold him down while it happened. At school, run by the church, he'd get paddled just for making a funny face at a classmate. And when he wasn't being beaten, he was being put to work. 6th grade, and this kid was doing unpaid construction and real estate labor for church elders. He had asthma, so he physically couldn't keep up, and the entire congregation would call him lazy for it. By 14, he was cleaning the church leader's massive home until midnight, then returning at dawn to mow the lawn. But the worst came when they threw him into the green room, a storage closet, named for its green carpet, used to isolate so-called sinners. You'd be locked in alone, barely fed through a slot in the door, like a prison cell. Jimmy got so desperate inside that room, he started banging his head against the wall until he bled. Nobody came. That moment broke something in him, and then rebuilt something stronger. He eventually fled. His own family cut him off completely. His name was literally removed from the family records. Today, Jimmy is 29. He's a practicing attorney. He still has nightmares. He still struggles to trust people. But every single day he keeps going. And honestly, that takes more strength than most of us will ever have to find. These 5 people walked through hell. Some were born into it, some stumbled in, some were dragged. But every single one of them found a way out. If their stories tell us anything, it's this: no matter how deep in you are, no matter how long it's been, there is always a way back. If you made it this far, drop a comment. Let me know which story hit you the hardest. And if you're new, Make sure you subscribe because we've got more stories like this coming every week. I'll see you in the next one.